cheers. Here's Siddle. He's got it in! He's given it in! Taylor Siddle's got a hat-trick on his birthday! Gone!
So the first of many T20s between us and our neighbours over the Dutch have commenced. We sent over I'm not going to say a B side, but it was a side that had plenty of young players through it. Obviously our test stars were scheduled to go to South Africa, and that never ended up happening, which is a cause of great distress to us, which is why we're all Poms for the next month or so, because we need the Poms to win so we can get to the World Championship final.
Yeah.
And Australia, and I think in a good move for the Australians, didn't elect to rejig their squad to go to New Zealand and left their test players to come and play Shield cricket. So
I don't think they could anyway, could they?
No one had left the country yet, so
okay.
they were perfectly entitled to reorganise their...
I'm glad that they didn't, though.
It's giving a lot of opportunities to some young players. Josh Phillippe won, who got his debut in this game, and some of the young bowlers. Really a chance for those guys to make their mark with the guys like Warner and Smith and Cummins and Stark and Hazelwood and all those guys sitting out. Didn't go off very well though. New Zealand got the better of us. We started well. We had the Kiwis reeling at 3 for not many.
Daniel Sams opened the bowling. I thought that was rather weird.
Sams and Jai Richardson, I think they probably make the most sense out of the team that we picked for that game. They got us off to a flyer, and then Devon Conway went unsigned in the latest IPL auction. Hit us for 99 and just turned the game around. And we had a run chase of 178 that we needed to chase down. And we just never got going.
Yeah, just to think about it this way, it's like, it may not be Australia's best side, but it's the best, some of the best players that were played in the BBL this year.
Yeah, there was no one there.
Easily.
The only person who probably didn't get there on merit was Aaron Finch.
Unfortunately.
And I reckon Mitchell Marsh as well, but he's always been a bit of a darling of that side. I mean, he was injured for a lot of the BBL, he was injured for the IPL, so he probably got into that side on reputation. But when Marsh is playing well, he is a good limited overs player.
Which is really annoying.
It makes sense that he was there. I think possibly they may have went to... This is a problem we've got with the one-day cricket is, I'm not taking anything away from New Zealand, because Southey and Bolt put on a masterclass up front with swinging ball and really cracked open our top order. And then Ish Sodhi bowled particularly well on the back end, picking up 4 wickets. So we're not saying that New Zealand won this on the back of Australia's stuff-ups, but we just don't seem to get how to pick a T20 side. We've just sort of picked the guys who scored the most runs in the BBL. Well, these guys, we'll pick them. And all of them are openers.
Yeah,
and we've got 3 spots to put them in. You know, you live with an opener batting at 3. But we've only really got Glenn Maxwell, who's a specialist sort of middle order player. I mean, Mitchell Marsh predominantly plays in the middle order, but he's not.
They'd be the only 2, though.
But even Marsh is not a great manipulator of the strike. He's not a guy that sort of finds gaps and runs the 1s and 2s hard and then has a power game. It's just Mitchell Marsh will hit the ball really hard through, crashing through the line. When it pays off, he'll hit lots of 4s and 6s. But there's not too many innovators in that side to come in the middle order when a top order collapse happens.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's just, we just don't seem to get how to pick a one-day side. And I think in some cases we need to be looking at guys, maybe like the Jordan Silks of the world that may not have been leading the total run scoring or the highest average, but you've got to look at when they scored their runs and what part of the innings and what strike rate and where around the ground they scored their runs, because we've got a lot of the same at the top. There's not a great deal of difference batting-wise between Finch, Stoinis and Marsh. They're all guys that play, technically correct cricket shots. They use their big, strong guys, try to hit the ball hard. Matthew Wade is a bit of a change-up. He's a guy that hits the ball in funny areas. Glenn Maxwell's a guy that hits the ball in funny areas. Phillippe's a guy that hits the ball in funny areas. But they've all got to really bat at the top of the order to get the most out of them.
I think it all stems back to the fact that Australia never really took T20 cricket seriously. I remember watching the first one, They had players mic'd up everywhere. And it was an international game between Australia and
New Zealand. McGrath pretended to bowl an underarm ball for the last ball of the innings.
Yeah. And
we can only wear that excuse for a while now because Australia's sunk a lot of money into developing the T20 game to the detriment of other forms of the game. To be quite honest, especially with the World Cup that was supposed to happen here, but unfortunately COVID intervened. There was lots of preparation that went into this side and in particular this format, and it just seems to be we're just not quite nailing it.
Yeah.
So this Big Bash, our domestic tournament that's designed to build the future of Australian limited over or T20 cricket, and we can't produce bowlers that consistently execute the death. I mean, I think the most impressive person I saw in the death overs, other than Nathan Ellis, was Dan Christian, who's like 400 years old.
I'm totally surprised he wasn't picked in this team. I would have picked him.
I don't know if I would have picked him in this side because you know what you're going to get out of Daniel Christian.
Yep.
If you're going to, but I definitely think he should be seriously considered for the World Cup squad.
I think he should be in the team just from his experience. All these young players, you look at all these young guys, and if they walked up to Dan Christian and asked him something, I guarantee he'd talk to him about it. And he's played so many T20 games. He plays all around the world. I think it was 10 months of the year he's away playing cricket. You need to use that guy.
I think Australia's used this as a bit of they've recognised the opportunity with the test players having been out as a bit of a sounding board to see how some other guys work. And Dan Christian's a known commodity. You know that if you're going to play him, you're going to get a guy that's going to bat 6 or 7. He's going to go and swing hard from ball one. If you bowl it in his arc, he'll hit it as far as anyone. And then with the ball, you bowl him for 1, 2, 3 overs. You can bowl him in the death. You can bowl him in the power play that they used. You know what you're going to get. You don't. So I think that, in a sense, if you're going to pick a squad, and I certainly would be urging Gorgeous George, the selectors panel, to be going, what's the point of picking a T20 side to win tournaments? We're at the World Cup now. We don't need to build for the future. Let's pick the best squad we have now. Who cares if they're 34 or 36 or 400 like Dan Christian is? Yeah. My big concern actually is the captain, Aaron Finch.
Finchy?
And I know that it's early days and he's got time to get his form back, but this is Aaron Finch's last 10 T20 innings. 1, 6, 4, 10, duck, 13, 14, duck, which is a golden, 8, 18. Oh. So 74 off 76 balls, an average of 7 with a strike rate of 97.
Still more runs than I've scored this year.
How long does Australia give Finch a free pass before maybe his seat starts to get a bit warm?
I don't know. Going forward, Australia's always been sort of gun shy, as it will, replacing captains.
Yes.
I do think that this series might be the last straw for Finch, because I understand that a great captain can do great things. If Aaron Finch was to get dropped, are you going to get Matthew Wade to captain the team?
I would personally have played Maxwell captain the side.
I actually agree with you.
Which is, Matthew Wade's been named the vice captain, so where do you go from there? I don't think either would do a bad job, to be honest. Matthew Wade's been the captain of the Hurricanes when he's been there, and he's a pretty good operator. I would have Maxwell. I think Maxwell's a better captain, and especially he's with the T20 World Cup being played in India, and where he's obviously been a fairly big ticket item in the IPL. He's very familiar with how the grounds play and and all that sort of stuff. So I would be leaning towards Maxwell. It's a really tough spot. I like Aaron Finch as a captain, and I like him as a batsman when he puts it together.
Got it! Hat-trick slower ball, beautifully bowled.
Gary, I don't know if you remember, over a course of many an episode on Two Slips in a Gully, I've been known to get a bit ranty.
Oh, I've never really noticed that.
Never really noticed? Well, Must be dozing off partway through
Or
the
dead.
episodes. And one of my things and my bugbears, if you haven't noticed, has been that I'm not a big fan of the way that they execute DRS.
I think everyone's a bit the same. Maybe not quite as mental as you, but yeah.
One of the things in particular, I had a rant about it last week, and I'm sure if you go back through our episodes, I've had many a rant about this particular thing, is the use of the umpire's call in DRS.
Oh.
And about how my big catchphrase is I don't understand why we're putting an inbuilt human error flaw into a technology designed to get rid of human error. And apparently all I needed to do for this bugbear to go away is for it to happen to India.
Yeah, I'm listening.
The rule makers at the MCC are in the middle of discussing getting rid of umpire's call as part of the DRS process, and now just having a simple out or not out.
But why? Why now?
Well, obviously because Virat Kohli got very upset about the Joe Root decision. I don't know. Apparently it's something that's been in the works for a while, but my inner cynic is saying India wants it, so now it's happening.
That's my outer cynic saying that too. Don't worry about it. I think two's fine. I think that when they've got the three at the moment, it's a bit too.
There's too many, especially considering with umpire's call. A lot of the time, they're sort of the reviews are now. A lot of reviews are now. It's either going to be out or umpire's call. It was so close.
Yeah.
Like, what's the harm in having a look if we're going to keep it? And so you'll end up, LBW shouts where they're just like, we'll look silly if it's a millimetre on the right side of the stubs instead of the wrong side, and if it's a millimetre on the wrong side, we've still got three. So
I've
then you have a
some
crack.
Screamers though. Joe Root took one upstairs and come off the middle of the bat. That was pretty good.
So obviously there's some really bad ones, but I think with that extra one, which I know why they put it in, it was to safeguard against the home umpires and any improprieties that could possibly have been brought out by touring teams going, we only didn't get it because it's a home umpire. That's like, well, you had 3 reviews. If you didn't get it right, then you had plenty of chances to catch it.
Yeah.
I think two's probably safe, but I'm happy for any move where it is definitive.
Yeah,
Just give me definitive.
I think it answers what we all want.
I still think the still thing is it's 50% of the ball needs to be hitting from the outside of the stumps, which I think is a great move because it used to be the middle, but now it's the outside of the stumps. And hopefully they're going to include the top of the bails instead of the bottom of the bails as the marker. And I still think 50% of the ball is too much margin for error because you don't need half. If I was a bowler and you told me half the ball is going to hit that stump, I'd be expecting to knock the stump over. I think I'm happy with it. I think it's a great move. It's a long overdue, to be honest, and hopefully now I won't have to bore all of our listeners with endless rants about how rubbish umpires call this.
No.
I'll think of something. I always do. They'll do something else that annoys me. But no, great. I think this is great, and I really hope that this gets moved through in sometime in the not too distant future.
It's got him! Knocked him over! The pressure was too much!
I heard some exciting news recently, a couple of days ago. Last week, I think, actually.
Yeah.
Now by the time it's all done. And it has to do with the Marsh Cup, or the one-day domestic tournament in Australia that's going on.
Yeah.
There was talks in the works that Cricket Australia had a proposal to take one-day domestic cricket off the state contracts and make that a franchise-based system similar to the Big Bash.
Why the hell would you do that?
There's lots of monetary reasons why. Now state cricket only needs to pay contracts for their their first-class players, so the players they're going to be using in their 4-day cricket. And by opening up to a franchise-based system, you then could increase the amount of franchises, because Nathan Coulter-Nile was picked up for nearly $1 million in the IPL.
Yeah.
Currently doesn't play one-day cricket for any state.
Maybe because he's not very good.
Maxwell and Finch aren't playing one-day cricket for any state.
Well, they also play for Australia.
But if they weren't playing for Australia, they wouldn't be playing cricket for Victoria. So there's Dan Christian, who we've just talked.
Yeah.
We've waxed lyrical on for 20 minutes about how he should be representing Australia in the T20 World Cup. Isn't contracted to a state, so you'd be able to bring some of these guys where there's this massive youth push through the states, which I don't think is smart for the longevity of cricket. But they've got to try and give these young kids avenues to go, because otherwise they'll find different sports. So it's a bit of a catch-22. You want them playing against the best veterans, like just the best 11. If you make your state side, you should be thinking, well, I am one of the 11 best available cricketers for my state, not, oh, there's 3 blokes that are 35 that would be in this side, but they're 35, so what's the point of them being here? So now me and my mate and that guy get a go at 22.
It's a bit like New South Wales. They've got like 4 teams. Because half of them get picked for Australia, and then the other ones come in and they'll get picked for somebody else, and so forth and so on.
So by having a franchise-based system, you get to bring those players back into the fold, add some depth, and then there's less financial strain on the states, and then you can then play. And then obviously by doing that, it sort of ties in with the Big Bash a little bit. I'm assuming the plan would be then to market it a hell of a lot and get it out into the public eye. I mean, there's no point in rebadging it and refranchising it if you're just going to leave it on.
Play it when?
Well, that's the big thing. I don't know when you'd play it. You'd have to fit it in the calendar. But I think it's a very exciting proposal on the face of it. At this point in the dialogue, I'm optimistic. I'd love to see how the conversations progress and how it plays out. But I think that could be really good, especially because it frees up the burden on the states to have these, having to pay players to be in their white ball side and their red ball side, even though they're like Nathan Coulter-Nile probably would never play Shield cricket again for Western Australia.
Yeah.
But to have him on retainer to play white ball cricket was too expensive, so they just dropped him altogether. Even though he played in the 2019 World Cup, so 4 months before he was dropped, he was representing Australia, and you can't tell me that he fell off the wagon that much that he was no longer good enough to play for WA.
He works at Woolies now.
So these guys, he's going to earn basically $1 million to go and play cricket over in India. So these guys get back into the fold, and then WA can then take the money that it saved on paying their white ball cricketers, like Ashton Turner's another one. He's probably not going to play a lot of red ball cricket. And they can turn that into developing their first class system more, which hopefully then will yield better first class players. I think there's a lot of room for exponential growth, and I think anything that involves us playing more 50 over cricket is fantastic, because at the moment we sort of play tests, we play T20s. Well, in a 4-day cricket we play T20s. There's sort of the 50 over game is a bit of an afterthought, and it's showing on the world stage that really Australia isn't even remotely close to the. Not only has the gap closed, we've now been overtaken, and
easily. And
we don't like that as Australians.
No.
And that was a small selection of our 65th episode. For all of you watching here, please go to Soundcloud or look us up on Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Good Pods, or Spotify for the entirety of the podcast. We hope you've enjoyed watching. Please like and subscribe. Share us around. If you're enjoying what you said, leave some comments. What do you guys think of all of the stuff that we've talked about? What do you think Australia's T20 aspects are like? Do you like the idea of a franchise-based one-day system? Let us know what you think. Hope you enjoyed, and don't forget to check out the full podcast. Thanks very much, guys. Bye for now.
See you guys.